Good afternoon, everyone. This is Steve from ASX Traders United with a special broadcast today, actually, just in response to one of the questions we've actually had on the ASX Traders United Facebook page. This one from Brett in relation to what actually happens to situations in terms of the aftermarket, before market, and why people put in bids well higher than the normal price and ask amounts well below the price in relation to the actual prices when the trading market is not actually in current trade at this time. I'm actually recording this shortly after 4 p.m. on Friday, the 5th of May, as you can see from the timer down the bottom right-hand side. And this is the FP Markets trading platform. For those who are unaware, I've actually got it right now on the most actives page, which you can actually see right there. And today there's a reasonable amount of activity in a number of different stocks listed on the left-hand side there. I've actually just got Rio Tinto up on the right-hand side here into the market depth. Now, the way this works is on the left-hand side, you have all of the bids in terms of what people are actually bidding for there. These are all in cents, so it's $116.77 someone's willing to actually put their bid in at. And on the right-hand side, $98.23 that someone's willing to sell at the bare minimum. Now, the price that it actually traded at last before 4 p.m. Was $109.14. Now, a lot of people might look at this and they say, well, hang on, someone's willing to spend $116 on this. No, basically what's happening is they're putting themselves right at the front of the queue more than anything else in order to say, I really want to actually get in at this stock and I'm willing to spend up to $116 in order to do so. And they put themselves first in the queue in front of this person, 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 in front of all of these people, in fact, because there's 13 people here at this particular bid price of $114.59 and so forth. And the same one happens on the right-hand side in terms of those who are actually trying to sell. So we've got 4 people here who are actually willing to sell at $98.23, or that's the price they're putting it at. I could go in there and put a sell price in at $98.24, for instance, and I'd be shunted in just behind them. So that would be basically the way that works there. So it's sold at, or the last price was $109.14. So if I scroll down, there's all these people here in front of the $109.14 area on the sell side. And on the buy side, you can see there's all these other people here in front of the 109.14 area there as well too. And that's essentially how it works. So what happens in this auction period, so to speak, is that we basically have a matching situation going on. So all of these people on the left-hand side are basically bidding and trying to outbid each other in order to get in front of the queue. And on the right-hand side, we have all of these people who are trying to sell and trying to outbid each other and try and get in front of the queue that way as well. So it's almost like the loudest people speaking first and trying to get in front of the queue and jostling and trying to push each other out of the way. Now, that might look really confusing in terms of a really active stock like Rio. But if we go across to one that's probably a little bit less active, I suppose, maybe like Sayona Mining, for instance, it's probably a little bit clearer. And this one finished at 20 cents per share, for instance. And you can see that very clearly in terms of the 20 and 20 right there. So you've got people who are willing to jump the queue in terms of buying Sayona on the left-hand side there, as well as those who are willing to jump the queue on the sell side in terms of those who are willing to sell a little bit there. Now, our auctions close at around about 4:10, or just shortly afterwards, 4:10 and 30 odd seconds, something along those lines there. And you'll see that as we actually are talking through this as well too. And as it actually goes through, there'll be a lot more jostling and a lot more changes going on around about that time as well. But as you also see, you probably see some green and some red popping through and all of those kind of things happening as well. And these numbers at the top here change accordingly, which is why it's really good to see this all in live practice to really see what actually happens and get used to what actually happens. There's a change that just occurred right there at the 19 level mark on the bid side. And as the numbers change, the match price changes as well. So if someone actually put a bid on this side here above the 20 level, for instance, that could actually change the match price as well, depending on how many shares were actually offered at that price as well. So it will change the match volume, and it also change the surplus volume as well if there were enough shares actually offered. So if someone came along and said, "Oh, look, I'm willing to actually buy up to 21 cents, for instance, and I'll buy 3 million shares, for instance," that would change the surplus volume completely there as well. If there was another one that was a bit more active, for instance, maybe PLS, for instance, in terms of Pilbara Minerals, there might be a little bit more action going on there. There's a few more really, really willing to push it a bit higher. We've got 439 at the present time here, for instance, in terms of what it actually closed at. But there's all these people who are actually willing to pay a little bit more. Oh, sorry, I just actually clicked that accidentally. But would have actually potentially opened up a sell order. And in terms of 439, essentially what we've got here is all these people here. There's a bit more jostling going on here. We'll stick with this so you can actually see what actually does happen, I think. And in terms of Pilbara, we've got all these people here in front of the 439 area who are actually willing to buy it. And on this side here, we've got all these people who are willing to sell below the 439 area. So we've actually got quite a bit of action. We scroll down, you can see it even goes a little bit more in terms of that area there. So we're approaching that 410 mark right now, actually. So 408. And you really start seeing a little bit more happening here as well too. So you can really start seeing that surplus volume changing a little bit there too. Actually, just pointed that out there as well. So as we start getting a few more bids, you've actually just seen that match price change as well too, and the surplus volume has actually changed there too, because obviously more people are actually interested in buying this. And what that basically means is if the surplus volume changes to a positive, then that means that there's going to be more on the bid side rather than on the ask side. At the present time, there's now more on the ask side at the 440 level. So if it's settled right now, then essentially there would now be 334,000 on the ask side at 440, and then there'd be a bid on the 439 side. And that's essentially how that works. So things will change, they'll fluctuate, they'll move, they'll maneuver, and until we finally get to a settlement, and that settlement will occur in around about 1 minute. Now, there may be a little bit of flurry, a little bit of activity that will happen right now as people try and jostle, because we've got the jobs report happening over in the US tonight. There was Apple who actually released earnings over the past night. They beat their expectations, but I don't think it was really all that convincing. And there really hasn't been all that much, an enormous amount of volume actually today in today's market at all. But it's just been one of those things where I think rather ho hum. I think everyone's really more waiting for the jobs report before anything actually gets traded more than anything. And I've got a feeling trade will probably pick up again next week rather than anything today. But there might just be a bit more jostling. And you can really see that actually there's been a bit more activity just in that last minute whilst I was having a bit of a chat right there. But we're about to settle in a few seconds' time, really. It's just happened about halfway through the 410 minute right now. And you'll start seeing all of these orders just contracting. There we go. Bang, starts contracting right now. And it's all contracted. And that's it. So now you've got the settlement there, 440 for Pilbara. And that's settled there with more on the bid side, ready to go for next week's trade. So I hope that helps in terms of clarifying what happens in terms of the auctions. Now, this occurs here in the Australian market at the end of each day, also at the beginning of each day as well, and it happens in a staggered situation as well too. So check on the ASX website as well in terms of more details about how it staggers, but it gets staggered in accordance with the ticker codes. So overall, what basically happens there is it goes in terms of chunks of codes. So I think it goes like something like A to D and then D to G and so forth from there at various time points as well. And it usually goes for the first 10 minutes in the morning, and the morning session starting from 10 a.m. And it's a lot quicker of a stagger at the 410 mark in the afternoon. It can also happen in terms of an auction type of situation there after an announcement. And what can also happen with the announcements is you usually get this trading pause, which will occur for around about 10 minutes after an announcement comes through. And sometimes the actual exchange or the company can actually request it to stay a little bit longer. And you've also got trading halts, obviously, as well, where you basically have an extended period where uh, it can remain for quite some time as well at the request of the company. And usually, when there's going to be an announcement, say like capital raise or something along those lines, where there's a major announcement which is required, where they actually do need to actually let the market know, and there does need to actually be a trading pause in itself. So I hope that's been some useful information there to explain the situation a little bit more. Feel free to ask any questions that you like at the ASX Traders United Facebook page for any further details here. It is a rather unique situation that we have here in Australia in relation to this, as far as I'm aware. I don't believe any other market in the world does this. There is an extended trading hour that does occur over in the United States in terms of stock trading. It doesn't apply to options over in the United States, only stocks and ETF trading. But this particular type of um, auction trading kind of circumstance is rather unique. And once you get used to it, though, it can actually be an interesting way of being able to actually uh, slip in and out of the market at a certain price as well. So you can decide whether or not you wish to actually sell before the market close, or if you wish to wait until the actual auction itself, and then you can actually slip in at that particular price there. It just depends in terms of your risk benefit profile as well too. All right, I'll leave it there. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch up with you again soon. Bye for now.